Mayor Anduri is now taking public comments. And Mayor, I have no hands raised in our virtual audience, and I have no speaker slips for persons in the community hall. Be aware that items will come forward, and as they come forward, you're allowed to speak on any item on the agenda. Please fill out a speaker slip in the back of the room. They're yellow. And if you're in our virtual audience, please raise your hand. Thank you.
Okay, so we're on to the city manager's update.
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. This is an update from the various city departments. The Public Art Committee invites you to One Last Look, a closing reception for its spring exhibitions featuring Hearing Shapes, Seeing Sounds by John Poole and Surface by Mary Stetz Chobola. This event will be held here at the library just outside May 11th from 5 to 6:30 p.m. From Engineering and Public Works, things are moving full steam ahead on infrastructure planning. Staff has drafted the proposed 2027 CIP along with a 5-year CIP roadmap, both of which will be presented to CPAC this Thursday, April the 16th. And meanwhile, the 2026 pavement project is officially out to bid with bid openings scheduled for Thursday, April the 23rd. From planning staff will be releasing an RFP for pre-approved ADU or accessory dwelling unit plans very shortly, thanks to the funding secured through Senator Glazer's office. This was a grant that was provided to all jurisdictions within his area, and the monies will be used to prepare off-the-shelf permitted, permit-ready ADU plans, so a homeowner does not have to invest in an architect or have someone prepare plans. And to be more efficient, we're partnering with the town of Moraga on this effort. And finally, Congressman Mark DeSaulnier has advanced over $46.7 million in federal funding for 20 projects in Contra Costa and Alameda counties, including key investments in Lafayette. These include $2.8 million for the Aqueduct Pathway, $2 million for supportive housing at Sunflower Hill, and funding to upgrade La Morinda's public safety communication systems and the county's emergency response infrastructure. We just want to thank the congressman for his leadership in advancing these projects that directly benefit the residents of Lafayette, La Morinda, and Contra Costa County. And that's it, Mayor.
Are there questions for the city manager? Is there any public comment?
No public comments.
All right, then we are on to item 10A. Lafayette's mission statement calls out our commitment to lifelong learning. And through the city's Public Art Committee and its newly expanded focus, the city seeks to embed the arts in our civic life and in the fabric of our community. During 2026 and 2027, we will help strengthen these civic values through presentations at the beginning of the first council meeting of each month by an arts organization or an organization that offers lifelong learning opportunities. This month's featured organization is the Lafayette Community Garden and Outdoor Learning Center. Its mission is to provide space and opportunity for community members to learn about, care for, and connect to our local ecosystem and food grown within it, thereby promoting a healthier community and earth. Founder and co-director of the Community Garden, Janet Thomas, will tell us more about the role of the garden in promoting and facilitating lifelong learning. Welcome.
Sorry, let me get my screen up. Okay, thank you so much for inviting me this evening to share some information about the Lafayette Community Garden and Outdoor Learning Center. I'm Janet Thomas, and I want to introduce to you all tonight my co-directors. I'm a co-director, Lynn Jones and Regina McGrath. And I'm so happy to have them join the leadership of the garden. The Community Garden and Outdoor Learning Center was founded 15 years ago, it's hard to believe, by a small group of Lafayette community members. The mission was to provide, as Carl just mentioned, a space for members and visitors to learn about our ecosystem and the way we grow our food. The garden is located across from the reservoir, now across from the Cancer Support Center, more directly, on land owned by East Bay Mud. Our rent of about $2,500 is paid annually by the garden to East Bay Mud. To obtain our nonprofit status, we formed an agreement with Sustainable Lafayette, which acts as our 501c3 sponsor. In 2011, as we broke ground, we had about 30 member volunteers, and we now have 111 families. We have a waiting list of over 20. As many of us are aging up, we're very glad that younger individuals such as Regina and Lynn are joining us, and we also have a number of younger families. We're a cooperative community garden, and we do most of our work as teams, as well as crop teams. We have an active construction team, native plant team, flower team, education team. We have monthly meetings, social gatherings, and regular newsletters. We partner with the Contra Costa Master Gardeners, the Mount Diablo Bee Association, Republic Services, and in fact, on Thursday, May 14th, that's coming up at 10 o'clock, John Taylor from that organization, Republic Services, is going to actually give a city co-sponsored talk at the garden addressing food waste and appropriate use of our green bins. We invite anyone in the community to visit during our work hours, and the work hours are Tuesday, 3:30 to 5:30, Thursday and Saturday, 9 to 12. We host many scout and school groups for tours at other times as well, and activities, and have been a lucky beneficiary of about now, I think, 16 Eagle projects and Gold Award projects. Our garden and its history can really best be described by looking at or you can learn more about it by looking at our website. And what I'd like to do now is just to look at it, just some of the aspects of the garden that are highlighted in that are highlighted on our website. Our crops are seasonal, and they're divided into 3 main crop groups, each led by team leaders or crop leaders. And as I said, we're a cooperative garden, so we don't have individual beds owned by individuals or rented by individuals. We work together. Some of our favorite crops, as you can imagine, are tomatoes, lettuce, basil. We use biointensive gardening methods in 41 beds of vegetables and flowers. We start most of our crops from seed, and we propagate in members' homes and in our greenhouse. Excess seedlings are usually donated to community members, but occasionally we actually donate them to the entire community. We have meetings, field trips, and classes for members. We also offer the whole community our grand rounds, which we highly recommend that you come visit. They are on the 3rd Saturday of each month, 11 o'clock. And during those ground rounds, we walk around the garden with master gardeners and talk about what we're growing. It's a learning opportunity for all. On May 17th this year, we'll again have an open house, and we welcome all community members to that. It's free of charge. Our large compost area and active worm bins provide rich amendments for our crops. In many of our beds over the winter, we plant a cover crop, usually a fava, which we compost for use in our beds during the next season. In addition to demonstrating organic farming practices, we've planted many drought-tolerant and native plants, sort of as a demonstration garden. We have an efficient drip system that uses actually less water than many of the homes in Lafayette, about 600 gallons a day. We've recently been asked to be on East Bay Mud's drought-tolerant garden tour on June 6th of this year. We understand the benefits of pollinators, especially flowers. So over the last, if you've noticed going past the garden, we've planted almost every year more and more flowers. We've also partnered with the Mount Diablo Bee Keepers Association. They now have 12 hives at the garden. And we actually were recipients of 120 pounds of honey last year. Each of our members got a pint. Our hens are a big draw, especially for kids who come. We have a large chicken coop and run that are now housing 15 young hens, which is our 4th brood of chickens. Each lays about an egg a day, so we actually are able to share in those eggs. The chicken coops, many of you may know John Kiefer, was designed by Papa John. We have a very active construction team. And the logs, believe it or not, have been donated. We've been getting logs the last 3 years from Excellent Construction. Brian Gates is the owner in Orinda. He's been donating us wood, and we actually mill our own wood and build all of our own beds. Construction team are really a model of collaboration. Very proud of what they've achieved there. And by the way, I might mention again, we have to build all of our beds above ground because our site is located on what used to be Old Tunnel Road before Mount Diablo Boulevard was established. So back in the early 1900s, it was a roadbed. If you dig down, deep enough, basically we come up with construction materials and asphalt. Artistic elements. We've many talented folks at the garden. They've created beautiful signage, beds. We've got a lot of ceramic work there done mainly by Susan Dannenfelser, who used to be on the art committee here. And of course, our beloved pizza oven is, we think, an artistic gem. It's shaped like a beehive. In 2019, we lost a large valley oak, and we actually decided to use the oak to build a 5-circuit labyrinth that's similar to that at Chartres. The labyrinth is open to the community during our work hours. Takes about 10 minutes to walk it quietly. And actually each year we celebrate World Labyrinth Day with music, and many of us walk the labyrinth. That's usually the first weekend of May. The creekside habitat, which one of the reasons we chose this site is because of the beauty of the riparian or native plants. So the creekside habitat upon which the garden sits was actually once home to about 200 Native Americans in a tribelet. Because of its access to the creeks, one of our missions is to teach the community about our local creek ecosystems. So we built a nature trail, and then at the back of the garden, we have built from local tules. Actually, our garden members have built simulated Miwok dwellings. And every October for this will be our 4th year, we've hosted all Lafayette School District's 3rd graders. Actually, after they get a class from Mary McCosker for a 3-hour field trip. And we do that over a course of 2 weeks. And the kids seem to love it. And I think that's one of the reasons that we've had such an interest in people joining the garden, because it's finally people realize that, what's behind that fence. Okay, I'd like to end today with something kind of special. And this was produced by, I think a lot of you know Jennifer Russell, who's one of our garden members. There's the root.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you very much. Any questions from the council?
Well, only I would just say thank you very much. Obviously, I drive by it every day back and forth to work, and just see it just kind of grow throughout the seasons is just magical. And it's no springtime, we see all the activity there, so it's terrific. And it's just amazing. 111 families, as members, 20 on the wait list. What a gem! Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Thank you.
The whole
Thank
team,
you
though.
for your continued support. And, it just highlights what a special place Lafayette is, being along the creek there. We're so lucky. Thank you.
Public, don't go anywhere yet. Is there any public comment?
There is no public comment on this item.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joanne.
Okay, well,
Thank
thank
you
you
all.
very much.
Thank you,
Talk
Janet.
about what it is now. You think what it was 15 years ago and how it's developed, and you go by and you see all the new things and how it's evolving. It's just incredible. So thank you very much to each of our co-directors. Thank you. Right. We're on to item 10B, another anniversary, 15 years and now 20 years. Lafayette Spirit Van. Ricky, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor Anduri, council members, staff. This is going to be brief. My main intention was, with the support I've gotten from other establishments, I've acknowledged, I've thanked, and I think it's just high time that I finally acknowledge all of you and the massive support system that has been the city of Lafayette for the past 20 years. So La Miranda Spirit Van, AKA City of Lafayette Senior Transportation Program, which I'll admit took me a month or two to figure out. Just not only benefited from the city's annual funding, but so much more. I just want to acknowledge that for your support during the recent Section 5310 grant application, the fact that you held a special unscheduled meeting so that a public hearing could take place made all the difference. And because of that, I wanted to give you an update. I'm very pleased to share that we were awarded funding for operating assistance along with 2 new replacement vehicles that will hopefully arrive by 2027, fingers crossed. I also wanted to update you that we do continue to receive $20,000 annually from the town of Moraga. It's also not lost on me how much we benefit from the city beyond the funding, the office space, the accounting support, and so many day-to-day resources that keep us running. And I would also like to give a shout out to Jonathan and the Parks, Trails and Recreation Department, who are consistently come to our aid at the drop of a hat. So we gave our first ride on June 6, 2006, which means June will actually be our 20th anniversary. So the level of support is really what has sustained the Spirit Van for 20 years. And we're so proud to be celebrating this milestone. So just thank you. Thank you for your support, your trust, and your commitment to this program and the people we serve. It just means more than I can express. That's it.
Thank you. I'll save my comments for later, but questions? Is there any public comment?
Mayor Anduri, no public comment. Go ahead, Susie. Susie Pack is coming to the podium.
Hi, I was mesmerized. I forgot to fill out the form, but I wanted to come and thank you all publicly and to thank Ricky and her team for all the work that the Spirit Van does for the city of Lafayette and for the people that live here, not just Lafayette, but Moraga and Orinda. Through my work as a volunteer with Spirit Van, I have seen firsthand the difference it makes in the lives of people who may no longer drive, may choose not to drive. And it really, this service is incredible. It offers folks an opportunity to continue to remain independent, doing the things they like to do, with the support of valuable transportation. I see in my work and our work with the village, we have a great partnership with the Spirit Van. And as a result of that, we've probably pushed the limits of number of rides served. And so we are always looking for volunteers. Just 3-4 hours a month would be terrific. It really makes a difference. And it also makes this town even a smaller place. People form relationships with regular riders. We take a van full of people to Costco once a month. We run into people from La Marinda in the Costco shopping center, and they ask us, how do we get on this thing? And I say, call the Spirit Van office. So it's really amazing to see all the connections that could be made through a little van that travels through town, whether it's Little League, whether it's the Art and Wine Festival, whether it's providing transportation for the home tour. It's great to see the vans on the street. I know we have 4, we're getting 2 new ones. We're super excited about that. And on behalf of La Marinda Village, we're just grateful and thankful for the partnership. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Other questions for the speaker? No, thank you.
I have one more public speaker in our virtual audience, Rick Sheldon. You may speak.
Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yes, welcome.
Oh, terrific. Thank you. Well, I wasn't going to say anything, but I saw Susie, who inspired me along with Ricky at a Lafayette Community Foundation event. I was very inspired and I signed up to be a driver. And so I went through the process. It was very rigorous, but I made it through. And I can't tell you enough how proud I am of the community, of the people that it serves. And as Susie kind of alluded to, the realization that when you pull up and you're helping others or you're going grocery shopping, but then you see others in the community responding to that or recognizing that, it's really special, and it really epitomizes what a lovely place we have here that's truly community based. So I know it's a 20th anniversary. I'm proud to be part of the organization, helping out where I can, but I just wanted to state that it really helps everyone in the community, more so than just those getting the rides.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there questions for the speaker? No, thank you very much. Is there any other public comment?
No additional public comment at this time, Mayor Endery.
Okay, well, I'll just say that 20 years ago, a great deal of effort went into creating this program. A lot of planning, a lot of effort, and it's great to see where the program is now. I just want to thank you for your leadership in the last few years. I want to thank the volunteer drivers who are just really the core of the program. And I think it's fair to say that this program is going to become even more important in the next few years. And we need to think about how we can expand it, because we are demonstrably an aging community. We will be a larger community, and we're going to need more means of getting people around without getting in their own cars. So this is just going to be the heart of what we do to remain or become an even more age-friendly city. So thank you for all you're doing. And I do want to thank the town of Moraga for their support in recent years. It's really, really great of them to become part of the effort. So thank you very much.
I also want to say thank you, Lafayette staff, for helping get this grant. And obviously your work, but thank you again to our fabulous staff. This is important. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so now these are the institutions that make a community work. We've heard from the Community Garden and Outdoor Learning Center. We've heard from the Spirit Van, and now the Lafayette Library. So, Rob, welcome.
I have some things to give to you all as well. These are our strategic plan updates, and I'll bring these up to you all.
Thank you.
All right. So what I just handed you all are the strategic plan updates for the library for the past fiscal year. And I will be going through a presentation here, which details a lot of that information, and then highlights some Lafayette specific. Let's see, oh, hey, it's up there. Perfect. Hey. Oh, so sorry. So go to second screen only. Let's say PC screen only. Okay. Thank you all for your patience. I assure you, I have a thrilling presentation for you. While we're waiting, I'll greet you all. It's good to see you, council. Good to see you, Mayor Under. Good to see you, city staff. Maybe I'll duplicate. Hey, awesome. Okay, there we go. Okay, so next week is National Library Week, and each year we like to come before the council and give information that is, as I was mentioning a moment ago, part of our updated annual progress report. And so this presentation today will be walking through some of that information and again highlighting some Lafayette specifics. So let's go ahead and jump into our presentation. First of all, our total circulation. We are on the rise for our total circulation. This includes physical and digital materials together, seeing about a 9% increase in the last fiscal year. Our digital circulation is where we're seeing the largest jump. The jump is up 39% over last year. You all may be familiar with our ebook collections, which is from Libby. We use Hoopla, which is our movies, music, audiobooks. And then as we have some others as well, like Canopy, which offers film. These all together make up a large number of our checkouts. And as we see, they're continuing to grow year after year. Our library visits are also up. So this means people who are physically coming into our buildings. We're up 10% this fiscal year over last year. Virtual, we're strangely down about 2%. Virtual meaning visits to our website, not necessarily usage of our digital products, but the actual visits to the website. For our most popular books in 2025, some of you all may see some familiar titles here from last year. So we had a different title, but similar author, Mo Willems, for our early reader book last year. Different Dogman title for our middle reader book, but again, Dogman, a very popular series among that age group. The teen reader book is a new title and a new author compared to last year. It's Holly Jackson's A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. And then for our adult read, Kristen Hanna's The Women Again. It was the most checked out adult title for Contra Costa County Library. The Rolling Reader, which is our all-electric early literacy van. What that does is it goes into underserved neighborhoods to provide access to reading materials. It served approximately 12,000 people with about 7,700 books distributed, issued about 150 new library cards, and covered 6,675 miles. We always are looking to add new digital services to the library. As you saw from our collection usage and the increase that we see year after year, we know that people are engaging digitally in other ways as well. So we have Pebble Go, which is a new STEAM learning experience for those aimed kindergarten through second grade. We have expanded access to New York Times, which includes new modules like cooking and games and Wirecutter. And then we also have MessageBee, which is the new service for those of you who are placing holds on library materials. You'll notice that you're now getting emails that have inline pictures of the materials which you've requested. Same for if you have items which go overdue. I'm sure no one's had overdue library books here. But if you had, you would get an email notification with images showing what those titles were. So summer. Summer is always a big time for the library. We do lunch at the library, which is a program that works to serve meals to those in underserved neighborhoods. Last year, we had about 14,000 meals and after-school snacks distributed among the libraries listed there. And then summer reading is always a big effort for practically every library. This is like a library to library consistent program, and Contra Costa is no different. We saw about a 14% increase last year. I'll give some more specific Lafayette information here shortly that, spoiler alert, we're higher than 14% increase at Lafayette. Good news. And then new registrations around 2,000 in Beanstack, which is our online program that allows for people who are not interested in doing our old school paper forms, but instead wanting to do online registrations for summer reading. And in Beanstack, we had about 1.6 million minutes of reading recorded. So new things in 2025. We have started developing more community languages collections. So what that means is languages that are in our materials in other languages throughout our libraries and branding it as community languages, because we do know that those are languages which are spoken within our communities. Read Contra Costa, which is our annual read event. Last year we had James, Percival Everett's James as our title. And then Tech Exchange, which is a one-on-one tech help type program that's offered beyond the assistance that librarians can provide in one-off instances. So it's for deeper, more assisted technology needs. All right, now we're here to Lafayette Library. Lots of information on one slide, so let's walk through it together. We'll go through some of the statistics from Lafayette and compare them to where we were this time last year. So annual visitors to Lafayette Library, fiscal year 24-25, we had approximately, or on average, 221,000 people coming into the library. Now, when I say it's an average, that's because we implemented a new people counting metric and software that went into place in September. Our fiscal year starts in July, so the first couple months were averages based on this year's statistics. So it is a bit of a projection, and then the last year was even more of a projection because we didn't have that people counting software and hardware in place yet. So from this point going forward, we will have very accurate statistics on the number of people who are entering our library each year. And I would say this number here is actually rather accurate, with about 10 months worth of hard data and then 2.5 months of estimated data. So and last year we were looking at 204,000. So we are continuing to see more people coming into our branches, which does align with the previous data for countywide, where we're seeing an increase of people entering our buildings. Programming and outreach here at Lafayette Library, we had 390 total instances serving approximately 7,700 patrons. That looked like providing 18 outreach visits, both in school and at the library, to Lafayette schools, reaching over 1,000 students. And that increased from serving 700 students in fiscal year 23-24. Lafayette had 834 summer reading finishers, with a 16% total increase over last year. As we saw in the previous slide, it was 14% across the county, so we are outperforming our other branches. Lafayette finished third overall. And when we look at that on a per capita basis, I do think that's important because Lafayette is it's a smaller community, but a very mighty community in terms of its library uses and also just the resources that we have here and what we've heard from our other presentations this evening. So when we look at a per capita calculation, Lafayette is ranking second after Pleasant Hill Library, which it's hard to compete with Pleasant Hill. They have a fantastic, brand new, amazing library, and it receives a tremendous amount of usage. So I was very happy to see that we're coming in just after Pleasant Hill. We offered year-round programs that included diverse cultural celebrations, music performances and history, hands-on crafts, homework and technology help, genealogy workshops, and essential medical and legal information. You'll see some of those things in our images over here, like we had our scams and fraud essential info for seniors, crafting program, the macrame hearts class, tax help in the bottom right. That's a service that we provide every year where we partner with AARP. And then the photo in between the craft and the AARP tax help is a workshop for 3D printing, where we have, that is a high schooler who is teaching that class, and he has been taking 3D printing workshops and working at our library for the past several years and is now starting to lead his own workshops and lead his peers. And then on the bottom left, we have a El Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead altar that goes up every year where we honor that cultural tradition and allow the community to bring in items of significance for the people who have passed in their lives. So equipment updates. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed one. We provided programming support to the Lafayette Library Learning Center Foundation on their successful Day at the Library event, which was held in October of 2024. As far as updates and equipment, we did purchase a new 3D printer in the past fiscal year that supports multiple filaments, meaning that patrons are now able to combine colors for 3D printed items. Lafayette Library ranked 5th in ebook and e-audiobook circulation. And again, looking at that on a per capita basis, Lafayette has the highest circulation of all libraries in the system. And lastly, Friends of the Lafayette Library donated approximately $40,000 for the purchase of ebooks and physical books, in addition to supporting the programming and equipment purchases made throughout the year. So lots of fun stuff going on here at the Lafayette Library. And now I would love to see if you all have any questions.
Thank you very much. Questions?
I just have one. So thank you very much for the presentation. So it's very encouraging to see the number of physical people going to the library increasing. Do you have have you guys figured out why that's the case? Are people just, finally getting over the last remnants of COVID, or is it your programming, or what's driving that?
It feels like the programming is partially what's driving it. Also, we've seen a lot of people coming in for remote work as that has started to change the way people are doing work. They're using the library as a space for a place to come and work remotely and just hang out throughout the day. We're always seeing new families, and that's something that whenever we go to outreach events, we're always meeting new families in the community, and we're hearing from them, oh yeah, we just moved here, we came to the library. So it seems like for us, we're seeing a continued number of people coming into the library who are coming for the first time and bringing their children in to hang out in the library, to borrow materials, to attend the story times that we're doing. So it seems like it's a lot of different components kind of happening all at once. But yeah, it's
Great. Well,
it's very
let's hope,
exciting.
next year continues the trend. Thank you.
Yeah.
And do you have a sense of other communities, people from other communities coming to the library?
It does feel like people are coming from other communities. It feels like we have a strong Lafayette presence for sure, especially with our families. But with story time, something like that, we do see that we're having families or like nannies who are or caregivers are coming to bring children across from library to library because they appreciate the services that we have. And we know that they're also visiting places like Walnut Creek to go to story times and programs there as well. Yeah.
So the new deck, the covered deck outside, how is that working out? Is that helpful or?
It seems like it's great. Yeah, so it is a space where people can go, children and their caregivers can go hang out. On warm days, it's shaded, which is nice. So it's a way to be outside and experience being outdoors while still being inside the library. We've got some toys out there, like early literacy toys, and you can also obviously take materials out. So we'll frequently see young readers, parents outside reading together. The only thing I would say the negative is just trying to get everyone to not eat a bunch of food out there, because it is a lovely place to hang out and have snacks. And I get it, but that's the only negative. It's actually quite nice.
That sounds okay.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, is there any public comment?
Mayor Anduri, I have no speaker slips for persons in our community hall, and I have no hands raised in our virtual audience.
Okay, well, Rob, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you
Oh,
all
and
for
we
having
have,
me.
actually, we have the proclamation. So I need a motion for approval of the proclamation.
So moved?
I'll second.
Is there any public comment on that?
No public comment on the proclamation for Library Week.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, it's adopted. So we will together present it to Rob.
Thank you again, council, for your time.
Right, now for our final presentation, before we get into the other business, and a very important presentation, we'll welcome Sharon Smith, Outreach Analyst for the California Department of Insurance. Welcome to Lafayette.
Thank you so much for having me. I will say, rides for seniors, community garden, hard one to follow up with insurance talk, but we will continue. Thanks again for having me. I'm pleasure to do this. Make sure I can get this up here. There we go. So the purpose of this talk was really to give a legislative kind of analysis of some of the bills the California Department of Insurance is sponsoring. I know Lafayette is probably very familiar with kind of the insurance crisis, so I'm not going to harp on this too much, but to put it in context, this is what we're looking at, mostly obviously due to the growing intensity and severity of climate events, and you pair that with historic inflation and something that doesn't seldom get talked about, the rising cost of reinsurance. So reinsurance is insurance for insurance companies. That's also getting incredibly expensive. So all of these things together are really, really driving this insurance crisis and making it so there's fewer insurance options and an accelerated growth of the FAIR Plan. And the FAIR Plan, as you know, is the insurance of last resort. It's the very bare bones policy. And it's usually incredibly expensive since it's the pool of all of the highest risk properties in the state. I put some numbers that were specific to Lafayette there, the 94549 zip code. This is information from the FAIR Plan themselves, but you've seen just last year a 91% year-over-year increase in about, about 1,773 policies in force. And it looked like the year before there was about a 200% increase. So clearly Lafayette's one of those places where there's fewer and fewer private insurance options. I did want to talk a little bit about what the Department of Insurance has done previously with previous legislation. The first kind of thing, when I first started, we were talking a lot about the Safer from Wildfires Act. And this mandated insurers offer premium discounts for homeowners implementing wildfire mitigation. So it gave some sort of reward for risk reduction if you had zone zero, defensible space, home hardening measures. All of those things were are having to be awarded through discounts. The sustainable insurance strategy really built upon this. This allowed for insurers to use catastrophe modeling for precise wildfire risk pricing, and they factored in the mitigation that's being done at the community level, at the property level, at the landscape level, to ensure market stability. So for a long time, homeowners are saying, hey, why, if I'm doing all of this mitigation, is it not being taken into account for insurance? A lot of it was due to kind of the regulatory structure that we had in California. Insurers were only able to use the last 20 years of data. They weren't able to take into account the mitigation that was being done. And this was a problem, obviously, for homeowners doing this mitigation and for insurers that are seeing that risk is increasing and they're not actually able to account for that in their portfolios. So the sustainable insurance strategy, there's a lot more to it, but this was kind of the main thrust, was allowing for catastrophe models because it allows for more accurate risk pricing. And since we're asking, homeowners to invest, especially those that are in like low income areas, low income homeowners have a really kind of high barrier for being able to complete a lot of this mitigation. So last year, a grant program was passed, and this is being worked out right now. I don't have any additional information on this, but it allows for grants for low income homeowners in these high fire severity zones to apply to fund defensible space and home hardening. So you see that this is kind of the pipeline. These measures weren't really siloed, but they were building momentum towards delivering available insurance and coverage statewide, and really emphasizing the importance of mitigation. And the reforms that I'm going to talk about today, these are all passed or being worked on, like the last one, but the ones I'm going to talk about today have been introduced to the legislator but haven't passed just yet. But these also aim to expand insurance options and really enhance post-disaster recovery. Really been informed by a lot of what we saw in Los Angeles after the wildfires in 2025. So the first act I wanted to talk about was the Make It Fair Act. This is AB 1680. This mandates compliance with the insurance commissioner's recommendations from exams and operational reports within set timelines. All this means is the insurance commissioner for several years was asking the FAIR Plan to increase their staff to, make it easier for homeowners to policyholders to make payments. There's a lot of just operational improvements that needed to be made to the FAIR Plan, and they didn't do any of them. And so this would mandate compliance for this, because we saw when the workloads and kind of the rising claims happened after the fires, they were not able to actually they couldn't withstand that level of complaints and weren't able to process claims quickly. Part of that is that they weren't set up to do that. And so again, this would mandate compliance, and it would impose fees for violations when they don't actually do any of those recommendations. It would impose due process protections through hearings and appeals, but it would impose fees for not making that better. Would also provide comprehensive coverage options. Like I mentioned, the FAIR Plan is a really bare bones policy. This would make it so it's like any other homeowner's policy that would reduce the need for separate policies for liability and for water damage. But also boost accountability and consumer protection and pathways to shift policyholders back to voluntary markets. And this would be done through a clearinghouse program. Right now, if you're on the FAIR Plan, it's up to you, really. Like, the onus is on you to go and ask for different insurers, get quotes from other people or other insurers, and see if you're able to get off the FAIR Plan. The clearinghouse program and kind of strengthening the clearinghouse program would make it so that the FAIR Plan itself is auctioning off these policies to the private market. So as you know, the private market funds the FAIR Plan. This isn't a taxpayer plan. So they would go to those people or to those insurance companies and say, these are the plans we have. Which ones of these can you take off of our books? So that's really it for the Make It Fair Act. Do you want to do questions in between, or do you want to wait till the end?
Well, we could ask questions
Yeah.
as we go through. I
Yes.
have a question on the prior slide.
Yeah.
California Safe Homes Grant.
Yes.
Graham, what's the channel for dispersal of those grants?
That is still being worked out right now. This is not something, this was passed last year. There's supposed to be a portal completed by the mid-year. I'm not exactly sure where they're at with that. That's been something that's kind of been worked out. But we're not exactly sure how much the grants are going to be, what exactly it's going to fund, if it's defensible space, if it's a new roof, if it's enclosed eaves. So there's still lots to be kind of decided here. I'll show I'll have a QR code at the end for our consumer alerts. We're sending out a lot of information through that. So if you want to stay tuned on that kind of information, I would definitely use that channel.
Okay, so just to confirm, that's completely separate from the funds that are available through, for example, Contra Costa Fire.
Exactly.
here.
Yeah, completely different. This was a totally different California bill that passed. Yeah.
Okay. Other questions?
Yeah, on the AB 1680.
Mhm.
So expanding the fair plan to be outside of the fire,
Yeah.
damage. It just seems like that's the opposite direction that people were, I mean, like,
Yeah.
so what is the real justification? Is it because of that fourth point where unless they do that, do they think that it will never get picked up in this clearinghouse
Yeah.
by other insurance
That's
market?
that's part of it as well. And also the fact that I think that they're looking to, and all of these bills are drafted. What actually gets passed is usually a lot different. I will say that's kind of the same question that I had. And this is the one point of this Fair Plan Act that is getting the most pushback.
Right.
And I think it's partially because they've had such a hard time just passing the fire claims that adding additional claims processes is going to be difficult. I think part of it is that it needs, because it's expanded so rapidly, people need coverage. And in the meantime, they absolutely have to have something other than that. And the Fair Plan is meant to be a stopgap. It's not meant to be the insurance that you have forever. And so I think that the kind of thinking behind it is that we have this full coverage option for a period of time, as opposed to expanding it just so that everyone can have this Fair Plan option that covers everything. I think that the plan definitely still is to remove policyholders off the Fair Plan.
Right.
Right. Yeah, I guess I had a similar question. This one is like, I mean, I'd rather, I mean, this is fine, I guess.
Yeah.
But, I'm sure the insurance companies are probably pushing back on this. I
Absolutely.
Imagine.
Yeah.
So if we have to kind of battle with the insurance companies, I guess, yeah, my personal thing is I'd rather, I think to your last point, to me is more, resonates more. Let's get people off the
Off the Fair Plan.
you know,
Absolutely.
instead of
Yeah.
trying to make this thing some sort of competitive or whatever,
Yeah.
because, ratepayers are paying it and insurance companies backstopping it. Like, wouldn't we be better off trying to get the insurance?
Agreed. And I think that the sustainable insurance strategy, there is a lot to that to entice insurers to come back to the state, to start writing in the state again. And so definitely the direction that the department has been going is towards actually having, people off of the Fair Plan. And again, this is how it's written now. What exactly passes and that might be a completely different
Yeah, 'cause it
situation.
feels counter to that. I'm not sure we're going to attract more
Yeah.
insurance companies writing policy in the state with this. I mean, I don't know, unfortunately.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
The other act I wanted to talk about was the Disaster Recovery Reform Act. This is SB 876. This is further protections after a declared emergency. This would require insurers to have a disaster recovery plan. This is including the FAIR plan for how they're going to meet claims handling and meet timelines, especially after a really big kind of urban fire like we saw in Los Angeles, where there's a huge kind of increase in claims. So this would require them to have some sort of plan for how they're going to deal with that. So it also double penalties on unfair claims practices. So right now, some insurers see penalties from the Department of Insurers as like the cost of doing business, and they continue doing exactly what they've been doing that's either unfair to homeowners or policyholders. And so this would double the penalties on any of those unfair claims practices, and also mandate insurers to pay direct restitution to policyholders when they violate the law. There's not any actual verbiage in the law of what that direct restitution would be like, but that is how it's written in the law as of now. This would also require a 5-day status update when a new adjuster is assigned. This is one that seems like it should be kind of common practice, but it is not. What a lot of claimants get after any sort of claim from their insurance company is almost a roulette of different adjusters. So this would make it that every time a new adjuster is assigned, within 5 days, they have to provide a status update to the policyholder. This would also expand living expenses to 100% of policy limits. Right now, it's only 60% of policy limits. And it would also expand these upfront payments, like I said, with these increasing policy limits, but also make them payable with interest when they're late. The other part of the Disaster Recovery Reform Act that's, I think, not it's particularly just about after a declared emergency, is mandating replacement cost options. This is something that we saw a lot. I mean, this is not just in Los Angeles. This is after every single fire. Homeowners don't know that they're underinsured until after they have a loss, and then they don't have enough coverage to rebuild, to buy elsewhere. And part of that is that insurers are not required right now to estimate and update the replacement cost estimate on your home after a new or renewal policy. This does not mean that a homeowner has to get an increased coverage or they have to pay more for their coverage. This would just make it so that there's an option and that there is some discussion about the replacement costs, which I think is incredibly huge. Nobody wants to pay more in insurance, but if with inflation and as costs go up, it just makes more sense to update your coverage yearly. So this would force insurers to do that. This would also require safer rebuilding standards at the time of rebuilding. This is kind of a loophole we've seen insurers exploit a little bit. In Altadena, for example, they weren't in a high fire severity zone before the fires. The CAL FIRE maps were redrawn. They're in a higher severity zone. Insurance companies aren't covering the building code upgrades for a high severity zone because they're saying at the time of the loss, it was in a lower severity zone. Yeah. So homes that were being rebuilt, some of them might not be built to the highest standards that they should be. So this would make it so that it closes that loophole so that whatever the building code upgrades are at the time of rebuilding, those are the ones that insurers need to cover. Any questions? Just going to go through the last one. The Smoke Damage Recovery Act, SB 1795. This is another one that really was kind of shown to light after the fires, but this would establish science-based, health-driven standards for inspection, testing, and restoration of smoke damaged homes, and create a uniform insurance claims handling process and have required restoration protocols. A big reason why homeowners in Altadena in the Palisades are getting their smoke damage claims denied is because there are no health-based guidelines to determine when a home is safe for rebuilding. And a lot of insurers have, or some insurers rather, have some very arbitrary guidelines about what they're going to cover. I've heard some homeowners say if it didn't, their insurance company told them if there wasn't visible smoke damage, if they couldn't smell the smoke, then they weren't going to cover it, even if their home was testing positive for arsenic, lead, whatever it might be. They were using these kind of standards. And this is, again, because we don't have any guidelines for them right now. And so this would establish those guidelines, and it would designate the appropriate state and local agencies to implement and enforce these standards. And in the meantime, it would provide immediate relief to survivors that are being forced to go back to their homes in unsafe conditions. They're able to rely on local public health standards for smoke testing and restoration while these standards are being finalized. They can take these to their insurance companies and say, hey, you can't force me back into my home if it's unsafe. So really, I'd love for you to consider supporting these legislative reforms. We have 3 different draft letters of support. I will follow up with an email afterwards so you can see those. Just encouraging the council, encouraging your constituents to support this legislation and to just engage with our, engage with our department. So I can, again, I'll send those letters of support afterwards. Most of these are being heard within the next few weeks. So that's sooner rather than later would be best. But if there are any other questions, feel free to reach out to me. This is what I was talking about. If you would like to stay updated on legislation, regulations that have already passed, fraud prevention, unfair and deceptive business practices. This is our consumer alerts. We don't spam daily or weekly even. This is every couple months or every month, maybe twice a month. But this is a really good resource if you'd like to know, especially for the California Safe Homes Grant. The first thing that will come up about this will be in the consumer alert. This is another kind of statewide education series designed to help consumers better understand important insurance topics. So the department is really spearheading this as well. We're seeing, especially after these disasters, there is not a fluency around insurance with a lot of people, and it's a very confusing confusing context. So every other month, we're tackling a different type of insurance, and there's ability to ask questions and have those questions answered by our staff, and also just kind of platform the types of resources the department does have available. So that's all I have. I can answer any questions you might have.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Are there any additional questions?
Thank you. This was really great. Thank you for coming and taking the time to come and see us. Just to let you know, we have a very active ledge committee in Lafayette. And is it one of the ones we're looking at today is around the fire hazard severity maps, and the other one is on insurance.
Okay.
And so are you familiar with SB 1076 by Perez?
I'm not sure what
Okay.
is that one actually.
It is the admitted insurers, residential property insurance.
Okay.
And it says it doesn't let insurers deny coverage if the home has a proven fire safety mitigation.
Yeah, that's not one that's actually being sponsored by our department.
Okay. So those are just the ones.
These are the ones that are being sponsored. That's not all there's a lot of insurance regulation that's come out. But these are the ones that the commissioner worked with the drafters of this to work on. But I have heard of that one. I just that's not one that our department has
I
talked about.
appreciate it. Thank you
Yeah.
for bringing these to our attention, and I'm sure we'll be considering them. So
Absolutely.
thank you.
Thank you.
Actually, yeah, I just want to
Yeah.
briefly, I want to thank you very much for sharing. I agree. I think, we had a presentation here 18 months ago, whatever, that I thought was fairly light on substance. This one is quite good, I think, as far as really kind of getting. So I really appreciate that. I mean, bring it on. We're all worried. And I just say my own personal view, which I can get a little bit. I mean, I'm like, it's really tempting to kind of bang on the insurance companies, and I don't like them either. But we also we just somehow at the same time we need to hold them to account and get more of them here.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think it's a tough balance. So I appreciate anything you guys can do to weigh both sides of that coin would be great.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay, well, let's see if we have any public comment or questions.
Mayor Anduri, I have no speakers in the community hall, and I have no hands raised in our virtual audience.
Okay, thank you very much for meeting with us.
Come back again.
Okay, so we're on to the consent calendar. I would like to pull item 11A, and then I'll just say with respect to 11D, there will be some just housekeeping changes to references to exhibit numbers on there. So that'll all be taken care of. So anyone like to pull any other item? Anyone in the public like to pull an item?
No request to pull an item?
Okay, we have a motion for approval of 11B, C, and D.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, 3-0. So that brings us to 11A, well, item 15 on the agenda, and we'll consider 11A. And the only thing I want to do there, this may not be a surprise to anyone, but on page 9 of 20, it now says Mayor Andrew, the second paragraph on page 9 of 20 is Mayor Andrew confirmed key pedestrian design elements, including an 8.5-foot wide sidewalk. I'd just like to make it clear, I just change that to Mayor Andrew asked the applicant to confirm that there will be an 8.5-foot wide sidewalk along Mount Diablo Boulevard, and then a new sentence, the applicant confirmed that there will be. So with that amendment, I would move approval of the minutes.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I guess you.
Yeah. Okay, so we're on to item 16, council commission reports.
I got a few things, I guess, to share since we last met. I did go down to Southern California. I'm on the Cal State's Environmental Policy Committee. And so went down to, it's our second meeting. We had the first meeting in Sacramento. This meeting was in Southern California, where we talked about some issues around the environment, focused a lot on water, wildfire reactions, similar to a couple of the ones that they had talked about there was, understanding smoke damage and so on, and also electricity. And given that we are MCE and a part of a CCA, talking about giving CCAs a little more granular ability to procure power. So those were all good, and yeah, so it's an all-day event, quite interesting and useful, and it's good to have Cal Cities on our side on this. The ones we're going to talk about later are a little more relevant to Lafayette, but they were all good. I also did attend the mayor's conference in Mayor Andura's absence on April 2nd, and it was good. They did talk about, again, we are fortunate Lafayette doesn't have that much of an issue, but human trafficking and how that, of all kinds, whether sex trafficking or labor, around major events like we have the Super Bowl, the World Cup, and so on. Everything, it just has just this really follow-on event about, and so there's a task force lead talking about what they're doing to combat human trafficking around these areas, which I thought was interesting for sure. And then finally, last week we did meet. The city manager and I met with Cal Cities leadership. There was a proposal that the city managers task force inside Cal Cities had done to try to, help reform Bradley Burns sales tax, and get a little more equity, or at least, equality between where the warehouses are located and where the cities where they're delivered, because we do not, as we know, we do not get our I would say our fair share of sales tax revenues from online sales. The city managers group put out a great proposal to eventually kind of get down to a little more of a 50-50 split between where the distribution centers are and the end location. The board of directors of Cal Cities denied that or rejected that. And so there was a question, why did they? So we had a good conversation with them. And it really turns out that there are, not to get into, there's two different parts to it. There's in-state distribution, out-of-state distribution centers. Out-of-state distribution centers are growing rapidly. And those are the one that can be changed just through legislation. In-state distribution centers, the way that works with Bradley Burns, require a constitutional amendment and a much higher lift. And it turns out we can get a bigger bang for our buck focusing on the out-of-state distribution centers anyway. That's where more money is, and that can be done through legislation. And so the Cal Cities leadership did say they're want to continue working on it and potentially hearing another proposal next year. So that's I think, it's moving us in the right direction of eventually getting more revenue from these online sales.
So what's the percentage of out-of-state, in-state? Did
They say the ratio, I think this is just taxes that are available to collect, was $1 billion out of state and then 400 million in state. Yes, apparently, according to Cal Cities, they were telling us that there's been a big push from the legislature to actually not have so many warehouses in state. And so there's a whole bunch of them being built right along the California border on the other side. And so that's kind of where a growing percentage of all the deliveries are happening from. So the out-of-state version, which we didn't quite realize, is actually an easier lift and is a bigger impact. So that's what we're going to be doing. I know we'd always been thinking, we're talking about, Central Valley, but it turns out that's not where the growth is. The growth is out-of-state distribution centers. So I don't know if the city manager can certainly give a characterization, but it was quite an interesting conversation.
Well, my immediate reaction is the environmental impact of.
I totally agree. I know now we have more trucks on the road going longer distances, but apparently that's where it is. So putting that aside, I think that's a path for legislative relief, hopefully, for Bradley Burns.
Okay, on Saturday, I had two events presenting proclamations. One was the Acalanes chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution. Had an event honoring the Marquis de Lafayette, including a fife and drum corps that marched from here to the statue in the plaza, and actually it was great to hear them play. And so that was good. They laid a wreath around the statue. There will be more coming with the Historical Society and others who are collaborating, including the Acalanes chapter of the DAR in our celebration of our 250th celebration, focusing on the role of France and supporting America's independence. So more to come on that. And then the second event was at Acalanes High School. It was Acalanes High School students, the event was Lead the Way, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, Belonging. And students took the lead in putting together along with the DEIB committee. It was, despite the rain, it was, because it had to move indoors into the cafeteria, it was a well-attended event. And I thought very inspirational to see the groups who were there, including the student involvement and in organizing the event. So that's it. Anything else? Okay. Okay. I do have slides from my trip, but no, I won't show this. Okay, so we're on to 16B. Councilmember Kendall.
Great. So my fellow Ledge Committee member, Councilmember Cervantes is not here, so I've put together something. First, Bill AB 1942, and it's the Rebecca Bauer-Kahan's E-Bike Accountability Act. And why we've actually had 2 meetings on this, and it didn't come to the prior agenda, came to this one. Because this bill is actually straightforward, intending to add to the growing number of e-bike safety legislations in the works. And it simply requires Class 2 and Class 3 e-bikes to be registered with the DMV and have a special license plate. It is very, very simple. However, we had the first Ledge Committee meeting. We received really good feedback from avid bike rider David Dondero, and who was pretty critical of the bill and thought that we need to be taking this legislation towards more European standards. So Jim and I thought it would be prudent to meet with the assembly member and talk to her about it. But then in between that time, our emergency services coordinator, Andy Comley, sent us a really great report and an assessment of all how Lafayette should proceed with e-bike legislation. And so this report then helped convince us we need to simply endorse AB 1942 cleanly, as it'll be very helpful for our police if these faster bikes had license plates on them. So this is why we have a support for this bill at this meeting, and we will continue to reference both David Dondero's report and Andy Comley's report to help us navigate other e-bike safety legislations in the future. We also, at that meeting, asked staff to pursue other items suggested by Officer Comley in his report, especially on training and education. So I would like to recommend support of that bill. Do you want to take questions now on each bill, or
Yeah,
I'll go through them?
Let's do questions.
Okay.
Great. I can go first.
No, go ahead.
So one question I had, this is great. I know this is the first one where it actually said we had a watch in the memo, and then but you were recommending support, which I did note. But the other one, I know we did hear, I believe, in one of our other or something that most of these licensing bills have failed because of the cost required to doing that. So this talks about just taking money out of the general fund, or is there
No, there was,
is it self-funding? I guess I just kind of worry that.
yeah, there was a fund set up for this one. Hang on.
I know, I wasn't sure. It was unclear how it was. I know it said there's a fund, but like, well, yeah, you still have to fund it.
When you register it with the DMV, I think you have to pay.
Okay, so that's
It'll be self-paying.
self-paying. Okay, that's fine. That was my only worry, is that it would get killed again, especially in this era of austerity we're in with the state. So
Right.
great. Otherwise, no, it made sense to me.
Okay, is there any public comment?
No public comment on this item?
Okay, why don't we just, do you want to move approval?
Oh, I move approval of support of
Oh.
AB 1942.
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Great. Next one, AB 2517. These are the fire hazard severity zone maps. And basically, this one covers the responsibilities of the state fire marshal regarding the designations of local responsibility zones into the moderate, high, and very high severity zones. But the real meat of this bill is that it will require the state fire marshal to update the fire zones every 5 years. So right now, the updates are kind of haphazard and unpredictable, but this will enforce a 5-year review. And this is why we recommend supporting this bill.
Okay, and I looked at this before, but no, what is the fiscal impact of this?
I don't think we didn't get report of that.
Okay. All right. Any comments or questions? Any public comment?
No public comments?
Do you want to
I move to support AB 2517.
I will second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. 1557.
Okay, the next one is AB 1557, electric bikes. We also recommend supporting. And this bill reduces the speeds that an e-bike can add assistance. It doesn't reduce the top speeds of these bikes. It can't add any more speed to it. And so now the max speed of assist is 20 miles per hour for class 1 and 2. And this bill reduces this to 16 miles per hour. It also makes sure manufacturers cannot allow these bikes to get power upgrades like so many do now. And it has really big fines if they do. So this is why the Ledge Committee supports this one.
Okay, comments, questions, public comment,
No public comments?
motion?
I move that we support AB 1557.
Well, second.
All in favor?
Aye. SB 868 by Senator Wiener, portable solar generation devices. And this bill defines portable, it actually gives us a definition of a portable solar generation device and allows residents to use them in their homes to power any devices they choose. As also makes sure that the system cannot be attached and feeding in the grid during a power outage, which is a real safety concern. It is thought that many residents might choose this to offset their high energy bills and gives renters access to these devices that they may not have in their buildings otherwise. It does not let utilities like PG&E have any control over these devices, and no fees can be attached. So the Ledge Committee supports this bill. We think Lafayette residents may choose to have this in our rental units especially.
Just a brief comment. I thought this was excellent. I mean, it's like, Scott Wiener bill, I can wholeheartedly
you're like,
support. Very
okay.
exciting. And I think it's great. And I think, just opining that we all talk about electric vehicles and all the things that are so great. And we kind of ignore the fact that a lot of these things are not practical for people that live in apartments or whatever. And this is like, hey, let's kind of address it. And I think it's terrific.
Okay, can I ask the opposition here?
Not surprising.
Is it,
Not
well,
surprising.
some of it's not surprising, but for the unions, is it because a lot of this would be do it yourself?
Yes.
Okay. All right, is there any public comment?
No public comments?
So,
I move that we support SB 868.
I'll second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous.
All right, last one, SB 1076, admitted insurers, residential property insurance. So in a nutshell, it doesn't let insurers deny coverage if the home has proven fire safety mitigations implemented according to the insurance commissioner, such as home hardening and defensible space. So that's a two-part thing. The insurance commissioner has to define these things, and you have to get, sign off that you've done these things. And it penalizes insurance who still deny insurance the ability to sell home and auto insurance in the state for 5 years. So basically, if insurers don't follow it, they can't sell home or auto in the state. We discussed how the penalties might not be in California's best interest, but think that this will just provide some leverage over the insurers as a more of a threat. Don't think that they're going to do that very often, because that would be a big impact. So we came around to supporting it.
Okay, great. Public comment?
No comments?
Okay, I move that we support SB 1076.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous.
Great, we're all in.
Okay, and
I
then
did have a quick question. There was one more bill in the packet. I noticed.
Oh,
Did we
there
decide not
was.
To do anything with that?
We
I just
didn't.
want to make sure.
it-
Okay, that's fine.
Can we talk about, it's not on the agenda. Never mind.
Okay.
Yes. We may be bringing it back.
okay, and you didn't, did you want to say anything about the legislative matrix?
Do you have any questions on it?
Nope.
Okay.
All right, that's a separate item. So is there any
Yeah.
public comment on 16C?
No comment on 16C. Thank you.
Okay, well, let me just say thank you to you, to Jim, and to staff who look at all these things so carefully so that we can look at it and rely on your judgment. So thank you very much. Okay, item 17. Email from Larry Blodgett. We have the letter. The recommendation is to approve the street closure. We have a motion for adoption of resolution 2026-28.
I move that we adopt resolution 2026-28.
Okay.
A second.
Is there any public comment?
No public comment.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And so that's approved. And then our final item, email from Roger Deming, unfortunately resigning from the Planning Commission, which is a shame because he was a very strong member of the Planning Commission.
I will echo that, kind of just seeing what he, the questions he was asking, and he really dug into the weeds, and it was a great addition to the commission for as long as he was on. I hope he comes back when his work-life balance allows.
Okay. And so we will adjourn this evening in memory of Norm Tuttle, who was elected to the city council in 1976 and served as mayor in 1979. We are informed of his passing recently, and we are grateful for his service. We look at where we are today in Lafayette, and it's because of people like Norm Tuttle, who took leadership early on. So thanks to him and his family, and we will adjourn in his memory.